Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening on this vast planet we live in. I'm your host, Rodney McGillvary, and this is Ancient Mysteries Revisited on Welt 95.7 FM in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Coming to you every Monday and Wednesdays at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on WELT 95.7 FM in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Also on www.acpl.info/welt. And you can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Ancient Mysteries Revisited and on YouTube at Ancient Mysteries Revisited. Today we got a special guest all the way from Russia, Valery Uvarov, who appeared on the show previously to discuss his pyramid complex in St. Petersburg, where he's using pyramid energy to influence the skills of various musicians and students over in Russia, and found out that this pyramid energy, when placed in close quarters with the subject, enhanced their abilities and they could learn at a faster rate than without the pyramid. He also did studies in regards to the pyramid energy being used for healing and overall health. And today he's coming on to discuss something pretty different than the topic of pyramids. He's coming on to discuss his analysis of ancient Russian texts that offer a different history of Jesus than the normal population of the earth understands or has heard, which leads to a very controversial topic, especially here in conservative Fort Wayne, Indiana. But it's also part of why I'm doing this show, to uncover various truths in the world, uncovering the ancient mysteries, so we have a more realistic viewpoint on who we are and why we're here on Earth. So, without further ado, let me introduce our guest tonight, Valery Uvarov. Hey, good evening, Valery. How are you doing?
Hello, my friend. I'm doing fine, thank you. I hope you too.
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. It's been a pretty busy weekend, but I've been looking forward to speaking to you regarding this somewhat controversial topic that hopefully most of our listeners are prepared to hear.
I think we can do it step by step.
I agree.
For for topic is really very special. Topic is very important from the point of view of evolution and history of our civilization. That's why we need to bring it forward carefully, step by step. So let's do it. Let's get the show on the road, my friend.
All right, sounds good. If you want, you could start out by discussing the text that you came across over in Russia. Like, when did you find these texts? Where did you find them, and so forth? And then we can dig into the texts.
I think, first of all, I was working with those texts, ancient texts, which most part of the people can find if they will start searching and researching. Actually, most part of the people all over the world, they know about Jesus Christ from the Bible, and they know only what is written in the Bible. But Bible consists of many books. It's not the book which was written as the one long ago. Bible, as I told you already, contains many different books. So, and what I did actually many years ago, I was interested in Jesus Christ as the person. I don't know why, because my mother, she was a Christian, my father was a Muslim, And
Which
I don't
is
know why,
that's a
but
very interesting mix of cultures right there.
yeah,
Kind of like a
what's
cultural clash almost.
Russia in this way is very interesting country because Jewish people and Muslims and Christians, they are living in one building. You know, our flats are very close, and we spend holidays together. So we have never had any problems. So, and what I did, what I was interested, and actually what I would recommend to any person who is interested in the history of Jesus Christ. I'm talking about the history of Christianity. We should, all people, I would recommend to start with that ancient text. And in the Western country, you could find the books of very interesting authors. For example, I personally like very much the books of Professor Elaine Pagels and from Princeton University.
Okay.
Also, I was very impressed by personality of Gilles Quispel. He was church historian and he was professor of religion. And he did wonderful discoveries about the Christianity. And I would recommend to read his books. He was German, but actually he was writing books also in English language, and you will find a lot of interesting things. Also, I was very, very deeply impressed by Kit Hopkins, Cambridge University. Peter Gandhi, maybe you have heard of him. He's the writer, very interesting, nice person. John Lash, also historian and mythology, you know. So these people from the Western countries, they helped me a lot to find the right angle.
Okay.
And in Russian libraries, for example, I came across very old books of 12th century, for example, very old, the oldest Bible, Russian Bible, and this Bible is called Russian Paliya, Русская Палия, Russian Paliya. Paliya, it's like paleo, means old.
Okay. Was that translated from like the Greece text?
No, it was written in Russian language.
Oh, okay.
And this book actually contained even more information about Jesus than ordinary classical Bible.
Interesting.
And what was interesting for me that particularly in this book, you can find the dates of birth, dates of crucifixion of Jesus Christ, exact dates.
That's very intriguing. Because does the Bible actually give specific dates? I don't think the Bible actually has dates of like the crucifixion and birth, does it?
Yes, and also that Jesus Christ was baptized. And all these 3 dates are written with the help of two type of calendars, and especially one type. It's so-called solar and lunar calendar.
Oh, okay.
That was used long ago. And this calendar is describing the date using 3 parameters. First parameter is the date of a new year, when the new year starts. Because if you remember, in ancient civilization, there were few dates which people considered to be the beginning of the year. Egyptian New Year, it was the 22nd of June, if you remember. For
Okay, yeah.
example, so Slavic or Russian New Year, it was 22nd of March. So it's important when the new year starts. Then, second parameter is the ring or cycle of the moon, and the third one is the cycle of the sun. And interesting is that having this type of calendar, you can calculate or you can record the date absolutely exactly without any deviations. And what is interesting and important that this date is not repeatable within the period of 8,000 years.
Wow, that's very, very interesting stuff right there.
And what for me was really amazing that in this Russian Polya there is a date of his birth. According to Russian Polya, Jesus Christ was born on 25th of December 1152 7 a.m.
Okay.
So, and he was crucified according to this book on 22nd of March 1185. So you see the difference, more than 1,000 years.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yeah. So this is just one interesting detail, which at least can give an impulse to awaken your interest to see what actually is going on with the ancient calendars and how ancients were recording the dates. And here you can make another very interesting discovery that for example, Pope Chancellor, or as we call it, the Roman Pope Chancellor, they were recording dates by very, very special way. First of all, they started to make the dates recording not so long ago. Actually, it was like 15th century. And they were writing like, for example, 1st or 10th year after Christ, or the first year of the century after Christ. And here you can make a wonderful, wonderful discovery, because most part of the dates are written by a very special way. First of all, this is the like English letter I.
Mm-hmm.
It means Jesus or Jesus.
Okay.
And then the date. For example, 532. So I 532. It means 532nd year after Jesus. After Jesus. You see?
So that's how the Romans wrote their date?
If you go, you can find a lot of documents, a lot of pictures, a really lot, hundreds, where you can see that all the dates are written this way. And later, approximately 16th, 17th century, this letter I was replaced by digit 1.
Oh wow! So now we're starting to come up with what we know as the numerology system right here.
Yeah, and what was actually 532 after Jesus became 1,532.
Okay.
So it means suddenly 1,000 years was given to us, presented, and actually everything that is connected with the dates are given to us in the wrong way. So this is just very small but very, very interesting and important details.
Oh yeah, this is very important because it changes your whole concept of the current calendar.
On one hand, but the calendar is just the beginning. For me, at least, it was the beginning. I was probably, deeply interested, and up till today, I'm very interested in ancient Egyptian knowledge, ancient Egyptian texts, Sumerian texts.
Yeah, and there's some strange coincidences regarding the ancient Egypt tradition and their dates regarding their gods and their attributes of certain gods. And if you match that up with what the normal Christian story is, they match up pretty precisely.
On one hand. On the other hand, not so well. Not so exactly. But my interest in almost 30 years of investigation of Egyptian culture helped me to understand actually the message of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
This is the most important aspect of my research. The message. What was the real message?
That's the core of the whole entire reason for doing this kind of research. What is that message?
This is not only the core. Up till today, I'm still, let's say, I'm digesting all this information. And I know that this knowledge, which actually I have gathered and found, needs time to be digested in my subconsciousness and my consciousness, so that I could bring it forward so that most part of the people could understand what actually it is about. For a few hundred years, actually, if you take into account this actual, real calendar, Jesus Christ was living and just a little bit more than 800 years ago. Let's say recently, not 2000, just
that's not that long at all.
Years. Yeah. And according to all that text, even to what was found and described by Jill Quispel, these Gnostic texts are giving interesting information that Jesus Christ was an ordinary man. But he was lucky to for me it's a little bit difficult to bring all these ideas in a very short time, so that because
there's a lot of information.
Because when I want to tell something, I had few years and a lot of information behind it. But for me, like investigator, was also, for example, very unusual and interesting to find out that all biblical story took place not in Israel, Palestine, in this territory. No, because again, I can give like an advice to any person who is interested and who is critical enough just to take the Bible and to take geographical map and start to read, just trying to find a correlation between everything described in the Bible. So which city, what was the name? So when Jesus came out of one city and went to a certain road, just very, very carefully watch.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Like have a map beside you while reading those texts.
Yeah, Because what I'm just trying to bring you as the hint, as the recommendation, this is a pure scientific approach for investigation. Because you can check yourself the reality. For sure, again and again, I would recommend to anyone who would like to make his or her own personal, independent investigation. Just read the most old texts which are in the foundation of the Christian religion, the texts about the first Christians. Do not try, where you can, to not believe to those who had written one or another book. Check it. Check the sources. And then you make a very unusual discovery that what is written in Bible completely do not correlate with Israel, Palestine, or whatever. No any correlation.
If you want to go to where you started with that route of research, what did you find in correlation to the maps you were using?
Actually, this type of research first time have been done more than 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There were few authors in Europe and in America, by the way, who was trying to find this correlation. And they did a very, very unusual discovery, but this discovery was later proved. And we will see how and why. So, the only country which has a 99% of correlation with the texts of the Bible is France.
Okay.
So whole biblical story took place in France.
From birth to death, pretty much then?
Actually, he was, according to another very old book, which was written in 12th century. This book was written by a monk who did a long travel to the place where Jesus was crucified and died on the cross.
Okay.
His name is Daniel, monk Daniel. And Daniel described in details the place where Jesus was crucified. In details means he described the place that was kind of a small elongated hill, but not a hill, actually the place, which was 2 meters wide and 17 meters long. And this place was surrounded by stone fence, which had 2 doors. People were entering into this door, and they were moving around the place of crucifixion in counterclockwise direction.
Okay.
Moving around this place, and then they were coming out through another door. So he described everything: the doors, the steps, the windows, everything, as much as possible. And this place is, according to the text, is situated 30 kilometers north from Istanbul.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And the place where Jesus was crucified actually and buried, up till today, is called Mountain of Jesus. And in Turkish language, you can find written like a desk, and it's written there,
Mm-hmm.
the gravel of Jesus.
Okay.
It's written Jesus gravel. And for me, first of all, was shocking that this place 100% is correlating with what was described in the book of monk Daniel.
So his burial spot is just north of Istanbul, then.
Yes, and not so far, not approximately 3 kilometers away.
Yeah, so not far at all.
So Istanbul is 30 kilometers south.
Mm-hmm.
So the mountain of Jesus, where Jesus was crucified, 3 kilometers north of this place, there is the walls of an old fortress and city. So, and what for me was absolutely also amazing, that these ruins of the city, and the city was called Jerusalem.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, the city was called Jerusalem, not Jerusalem.
Right, but really similar.
Yeah, it was Jerusalem.
So with that in mind, you could see why maybe they got the wrong town wrong.
No, not wrong. Not wrong. My friend, I would be happy, really happy, just to think that it was a big historical mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Mistake which actually is giving us or showing us a very interesting picture. First of all, I was amazed that this place, the burial ground of the Jesus Christ, actually what we call Golgotha, the mountain of Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
is taken care by Muslims. And these Muslim people are washing this place 5 times per day.
And do these current Muslims, do they realize that that's the mountain of Jesus?
Listen, here we are coming with you to a very special moment. And I needed 30 years to came up to conclusion, which I did and which I'd like to bring forward today for those who's really interesting
Yes,
or interested in this.
I would love to hear this because I
Uh,
I kind of have an idea what you're gonna be saying, and it's to me exciting stuff.
uh, so okay, let's make very carefully few steps forward in understanding what happened in reality, who was the Jesus Christ. And when I understood myself, his mission, remember, I tell you that my love to this person and admiration just exceeded all possible, levels. But this is one side of it. So let's get to the point.
Yeah, let's dig right into it.
First of all, always keep in mind that, and I noticed what I'm going to tell about now a long, long ago, that very, very close to us, there is a very small group of people, and this group has a deep historical roots. This group started, I think, approximately 15,000 years ago. In all this period, this very, very limited group of people are playing a decisive role in the history of our civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the people who actually is in a very deep, ongoing, let's say like this. I don't like this word, but I have no another word, like contact.
Okay.
They are representative of a cosmic community on the planet Earth. And again, I'd like to point out that this is a very closed group, small and closed.
But very influential to how the world is running right now.
Not as you think about it.
Okay.
Not like you think. Not like most part of the people think. No, quite different. So, again, let's get back to the point.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working with any reachable texts about Jesus Christ's mission, trying to understand what actually he was teaching about. And I noticed that his teaching had a very, very close connection with the knowledge encoded in ancient Egyptian texts. I do not want to say that Jesus was the Egyptian priest. No. I just want to say that Jesus Christ was in a very special spiritual contact with a certain cosmic consciousness. And again, you see, I'm trying to very carefully talk about it because there is no right words.
Right.
In any way,
was this the shared, or did the Egyptians share the same spiritual contact as Jesus did, or is it different?
No, on one hand the same. But
Okay.
what I'd like to do, I'd like to keep your attention and your mind on a very specific aspect of his mission. So let's talk about it. Nothing else, just about it.
Okay.
And I will talk about it very, very shortly, because otherwise we will not get enough time to explain everything. So in any case, we have to do it step by step.
Mm-hmm.
So working with the ancient texts and working with the biblical texts and the other texts, I came to, first of all, like a feeling, and then I came to understanding that Jesus Christ was the last one within the following, or with the last 800 years, at least, who brought on the earth, and actually who was teaching people about consciously controlled reincarnation.
Oh, wow.
But interesting is that he was doing this under a special angle, let's say like this. I'm sorry for my English because I could do it perfectly in Russian, but today we have to talk in English, so I'm trying to bring this idea as good as I can. So, under the certain angle, he was trying to explain to people that there is kind of an ancient spiritual technology which can help to any earthling beings to see the sin, to understand what is sin, and to get rid of it.
Okay.
And according to ancient technology, which he recognized and he learned being in direct contact with what most part of ancient texts called the spirit of earth. Today we call it Shambhala. In ancient texts like Gnostic texts, Shambhala was called dwellings of Barbello. You can find this name, Barbello.
Yeah, I've heard that in
Yeah,
certain studies.
yes. This is what today we call Shambhala. So Jesus was in direct contact with Shambhala, and through this contact, he has gotten information that any person can transform himself. This is the technology of pure energetical, physical, and spiritual transformation, which any person can make if he or she will go through a certain procedure.
Like a spiritual initiation of sorts.
It's not initiation. The word initiation is not good enough for that.
Okay.
This is, and later when I was reading the text, I came to 100% provement that this is exactly what I am just trying to explain to you.
Mm-hmm.
So what is idea? Idea is the following. If person, any person, is dying on a certain place, this place will record the impulse, energetical impulse of the dying actually on a spot, on this location forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I also found in ancient text interesting idea that in any human life, there are three most powerful energetic moments. First, very important moment in any human life is the birth.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the most powerful. So when the mother is giving life to a child, like I remember I was very close to my wife when she brought me my lovely, lovely daughter. And it was 5 minutes after 3 a.m. And I remember how very, very powerful energetical impulse just hit my body as if it was 220 volts, like boom.
Oh yeah,
And I
I've
and
felt that same thing when my kids were born as well.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then next moment I have heard the voice. So this is the first moment. Then the second very, very powerful moment. This is the moment of death. So when the third one actually is in between, this is orgasmus.
Okay.
But this should be used for very special purposes, but not like we're doing it now. But in any way, important for us now, this particular moment is the death. So then when one or another person left the body, and here is the most difficult point for any human being today. This is the task which we cannot realize or by ourselves. It means we need to see exactly the soul, how this soul left the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then we need to see where the soul will be reincarnated again. Now we are talking with you about the principle. We are talking about technology. We are not talking how. We are talking about technology.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when the soul will be reincarnated, we need to take this child and to bring him or her to the place of the death in the former life.
Okay.
And then here is the moment of a full rejuvenation. It's the moment when energetically a very special transformation will take place. And from this moment, the child will be very, very unusual. This person will be remembering his former lives, everything, all his former lives. This person will be able to talk telepathically, as ancient texts says, and actually as Bible says. This is gonna be a king of the kings. Mm-hmm. A person with abilities equal to abilities of the God. But everything should be done very, very carefully. So, and Jesus Christ actually was teaching exactly about it. And he was talking that if you go the same way as I go, you will be sitting close to my Father, to the God as I will be sitting. So it means you can do exactly the same that I, and then you will see, you will understand what means the sin, and you will never be making any sins again. This actually the turning point for any individual and for whole civilization. And he was preaching and teaching exactly about it. And now we are coming to you to most important aspect.
All right.
So look, what actually happened then? What I'll tell you now, I understand that many people will be angry because they are real, how to say,
They don't like to
It's
dig deeper
not,
than
it,
the top
it's
layer.
what means fanatics, people who are just, in any way. But for those among us who is interested in the knowledge and who wants to change something in this world for better, and the world actually for better,
Mm-hmm.
we need to know the actual mission of Jesus Christ. So Jesus wanted to show up exactly how this technology can be realized. So he asked, according to even Gnostic texts, he asked Judas, his best pupil, his best friend, as the text says, to betray him, so that Jesus Christ was crucified exactly on the 22nd of March. But
Okay.
what means, do you remember what is 22nd of March?
Oh, it's the new year or the new calendar cycle.
On one hand, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, it's a very special cycle connected with the sun.
Right. Yeah, the new solar
When,
calendar.
yes, because when we're talking about solstices and other things, this is one of the four most important energetical moments. So it means that planet Earth is emitting a very, very powerful energetical impulse.
Okay.
So then, why I'm describing it? Because Jesus Christ had no the possibility to use the same type of technologies as actually ancient pharaohs thousands of years ago had the possibility.
Mm-hmm.
He had no pyramid because pyramid was the instrument for consciously controlled reincarnation. So Jesus had to do it by himself. Then to leave the most powerful energetical trace exactly on that location where he was crucified, he decided to take the most terrible um, execution, because crucifixion, if you remember, has at least 54 very painful stages.
Yeah, it definitely seems like possibly the most painful execution.
And in my following book, I'm going to describe all these stages, 54 stages,
Okay.
so painful. But the idea was to leave, to generate, and to leave a very, very powerful trace on that location. And then, if you remember, when he was killed, the body was taken down
Mm-hmm.
and then wrapped in the fabric.
Right, the shroud.
Yes. And do you remember what happened with the shroud? There was a trace, the photo of Jesus Christ.
Yes, and they're still trying to analyze that. The
Yes.
Shroud of Turin.
Yes. But for us, it's important that the moment of death was so powerful that even the trace had been stayed or left on the shroud.
Yes, that's a
Uh,
very powerful statement right there.
yes, but this is not all. Now we are coming to you to a very, very special and very unusual moment. Now, let's say, get up your brain And try to remember, and I'm sure that you have seen that there is at least few old paintings, like 15th, 16th century, 14th century, paintings of the moment of the crucifixion of the Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And what can we see above the cross from right and left side? You can see UFOs.
Yes, that's very true. Right
For
above.
me, at the beginning, when I was not able to realize the truth, for me it was weird. When I was looking, I said, okay, it's weird. It's metallic, like UFO-shaped objects, which later have been somehow transformed by church into the angels with the wings in any way. But it's understandable. But that was ETs. So, and from this moment, if we are the real scholars, if we are real researchers,
Mm-hmm.
we should take it in account that for sure nobody in 15th, 16th or 14th century were trying to make a painting with UFO to support our conversation now.
All right.
No, they did what they knew about. And this memory was so fresh that you can find it on many, many pictures or many paintings. And this is actually says that that was the moment when extraterrestrial civilization participated this process. And if you ask me why, I'll try to explain, because I needed many years of thinking, and then I came to a very strict conclusion. Jesus actually needed help. So these UFOs, these extraterrestrials appeared to catch the Jesus spirit when Jesus left his body.
Okay.
So they did it. And then, listen, here there is another very, very unusual aspect. Okay, just take it as it is. And anyway, I'm just giving you ideas. I'm not going to persuade anybody who is listening to us in anything. I'm just giving you ideas. Please turn on your brain and head
Yes.
and
Think for
read
yourselves.
read carefully, think deeply, don't be hurry, just think.
And that's one
And then,
problem the world has right now, and why people are so close-minded is they don't do, well, they might do the research, but they don't do the thinking.
yeah, so, and then when they actually captured the spirit of the Jesus Christ, and this took place on 22nd of March.
Mm-hmm.
And then, according to already ancient Egyptian knowledge, these let's say these extraterrestrials, I don't like this word, but in any way, those who was trying to help to Jesus to make consciously controlled reincarnation, they had to wait 72 days. This is so-called cycle of Sotis.
Okay.
So in 72 days, on 25th of December, Jesus Christ was embodied again.
Okay.
But how these extraterrestrials could help people know where Jesus Christ was reincarnated again. They somehow showed to 3 persons described in the Bible. And they said, you should follow the star. Remember the Bible?
Yeah, that makes a valid point. What is your conclusion on what the star is?
That was
I think that
UFO.
leads up.
Because,
oh yes.
because according to the text, but the text,
Mm-hmm.
let's read it as it was written. The text says the star was coming, moving. But you understand that the stars in reality are not moving. They are all hanging in one spot.
Right, and they also these prophets too. They say were seers or magicians that knew about that kind of thing.
Magicians. They have received the information. That should follow this star UFO, and this star was coming and coming, and then stopped and showed the place where he was born. So, and now, this is the most important moment, which again, I'll try to explain briefly, without details. Even according to the Bible, the king who learned about it from these magicians, 3 magicians, because they met the king. Actually, they were moving through France.
Okay.
And the name of the king at that time of the France, interesting, his name was August. So Augustus invited them, and he learned from them that the king of the kings is going to be born in France. So he made an order, and all kids up to 3 years, if you remember, have been killed.
Okay, yeah.
And now, attention. Jesus Christ, according to Russian Palaya, died on 1185. This is the end of 12th century, right? At the end of 12th century, in France, in Paris, appeared the cemetery called Cemetery of Innocent Kids Killed by the King, and you remember the name. So it's interesting that the only one place where innocent kings have been killed and buried, this is the Paris.
Yeah.
Paris, okay?
Okay.
And then, again, I'm sorry for the fact that we are too fast. We are just jumping. But we have not enough time to be very, very detailed. So then, look, when Jesus Christ actually planned to come to the earth second time, actually, what is Jesus Christ Church is waiting?
Yeah, they're waiting the second coming of Christ.
Jesus was killed. And now I'll tell you a very terrible thing. Terrible, but unfortunately, it looks like this, that what we know is the Roman Pope and Roman Church had something to do with it. So look what happened next. Jesus Christ was preaching and teaching people in the area of France, right?
Correct.
Correct. We spoke. Then, right after, at the end of the 12th century and beginning of the 3rd century, Crusaders killed more than 1 million of people living on that territories where Jesus was teaching and preaching.
That's where the cover-up started.
Yes, they killed anyone who knew about Jesus Christ, who had heard his preachers and praying, actually everything that Jesus was talking about. And then look, Jesus was crucified in Turkey, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is another interesting detail just to let people see some connections. In France, there is a city where Jesus was born and where he was living. According to the Bible, he was living in Nazareth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Try to find Nazareth in Palestine. It's a long and very weird story. But in France, this city exists with the same name.
In France, there's a Nazareth?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And today, you know it as Saint Nazaire.
Okay.
Saint Nazaire. It means Nazareth. Saint Nazaire. It's this city. And now attention. This city has a symbol. Wait a moment. I'll try to remember how to call it in English. It's like emblem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Emblem.
Was it like a crucifixion type of emblem or something, or?
No.
Okay.
No. If you remember that Jesus Christ has his personal emblem. Do you remember? What is it? It's a like a sheep, like a rook.
Oh, okay.
Rook.
A rook shape.
It's like a boat with a boat with how to say it? Sparrows. Wait a second. It's with a sail. Boat with a sail.
Okay.
Remember, this is the symbol. This is the emblem of the Jesus Church. Boat with a sail. So the place where he actually was born and where he lived has this symbol, this emblem. Then he was actually teaching people, and he was baptized, the Jesus Christ, in Paris. Okay. And by very strange coincidence, Paris has exactly the same emblem or the same symbol. You see? And then when I came to the Jesus Mountain in Turkey, and I visited the place where Jesus Christ was crucified, I found a mosque standing there, very close, mosque. And when I entered the mosque and looked on the wall behind which there was a place of crucifixion, I saw exactly the same symbol on the wall.
Oh, wow.
You see?
Yeah. Major connection.
Yes. This is something which, let's say, which hit all the improvements. It's okay. It's here. We found the birth, his life, conscious life when he was teaching and the place where he died. Exactly the same symbol. And so, look, when Jesus was killed, actually, and then more than 1 million people in France who knew about Jesus, who knew him personally, and what he was teaching about, have been killed. And then the church, they were thinking, okay, now we stopped the Jesus Christ. But what if occasionally in this generation or next generation or in some generation he will be incarnated again, because church cannot capture his soul, you understand it?
Exactly.
And if he will visit, fortunately or unfortunately, he will visit the place of his crucifixion, he will remember his former lives and he will become a king of the kings.
And that will be what the current Christians would say would be the second coming of Christ then.
Yes. So, what then happened? Crusaders and Roman Church,
And like the Knights Templar and people like that.
yes, they did their best to remove the whole biblical story from France and Turkey into Israel and Palestine.
Yeah, that right there, that's the changing moment. And then that's when he becomes the king of the Jews and that whole storyline.
Yes. So it means if all people honestly, and maybe today, if Jesus will be incarnated today or is incarnated today, he will follow the same, internal impulse as all other people, all other Christians. They are coming to Jerusalem today, to Israel, to Palestine, and they pray in this church, but this church has nothing to do with the real place of his crucifixion. It means...
Yeah, that's just a deceptive church.
Yeah, it means that actually the Roman Church did their best to not allow the Jesus to come again.
And it's such a huge ordeal because the Catholic Church is still the biggest church in the world.
Yes, yes. And this is exactly what actually almost, it's just struck me so deeply that when I came to this vision, to this understanding, for a very long time I was not able, to do anything. I was just analyzing this truth.
Well, this is one of the most important things right now, pieces of information, because this changes human history right now.
Absolutely. And I was trying to understand why Christian church did it. And now I understood what actually happened. Even today, by the way, many people, when somehow they start to talk with me about these topics, but I tell you that I'm trying to be as careful as possible. I'm trying to...
Yeah, this is delicate information.
Yes, it's very delicate. And I'm saying, okay. And some people say, listen, Valery, probably you are too much, how to say, it's a strange Valery. Maybe something is wrong with you. Maybe you something misunderstood, or because.
And that's the product of a sick society as a whole. Society is sick.
They usually say, listen, Valery, all people around in this world, they say that the whole, biblical story and everything took place over there, and you can read about it in in hundreds and thousands of books. So, Valery, do you really think that you are so clever more than the others. Maybe you made kind of a mistake. And I said, okay, my friends, I really accept your words without any offending. Without any. I'm ready to accept that I'm mistaken. In one case.
Well, you probably realize too, there's a lot of people you cannot change their mind whatsoever.
But in any way, I respect all the people. I respect all of them. And I just ask one question. I say, okay, if you think that I am a bit mistaken, then answer just one question. How it's happened that most part of the people who followed Jesus Christ have been buried in France.
There is a lot of strange information regarding France.
And even Pontius Pilatus found his death in France. And it's a well-known fact. That's why I said, okay, if you will explain to me how it happened that all followers and Pontius Pilatus now found their death in France, then I am ready to accept that I am mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But reality, as you see, is very, very, very special. And from this moment, some people who are interested in these facts, they can make their own investigation.
Which they should. I recommend everybody out there, our listeners, start doing your own research, coming up with your own conclusions.
Yet, don't believe to anybody. What I said, for example, just take it as idea. It's not the truth. Just take it as idea, as a hint, and try to go as deep as possible, trying to find the beginning of the whole story, the ancient texts which later formed the Bible. Anything. Read Kit Hopkins, read Elaine Pagels, especially I would recommend Jill Quispel. Read them or him, and you will find very unusual hints, like I did, and also always compare with the ancient Egyptian texts.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, and
I'll post some links to these authors as well on the website and the Facebook page, because this is some vital information.
Because I was really, really amazed by Peter Gandhi, Kate Hopkins, Elaine Pagels, because they are so nice people and they are very interesting investigators, which helped me greatly to come to this conclusion, which I did for myself, and which I'd like to share with those who is really interested. Why? Because this is the turning moment for our civilization in our development and evolution.
Yes.
Actually,
sorry, go ahead.
A last idea which I'd like to share. Also, it was a very interesting discovery for me as a scholar, as an investigator. The deeper I was trying to look into the history, working with the ancient texts and even with these cave paintings.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where were these caves located?
Yeah, in France, by the way, in many other. So the more I came to understanding that few thousands of years ago, people clearly knew that there is no death as we understand it today. There is a facial, like a transition from one state of development, one phase of development into another, phase of development. And this transition is going through what we call the death. But most part of the people today, they are afraid of death.
Oh
They're
yeah,
scared.
that's the biggest fear that society faces.
Yes. But in reality, I came to understanding, and what I'd like to share, that the biggest gift ever given to humanity of our universe, given by God, is the death. Because
Death
through
is the birth, pretty much.
because death, it's not just the birth. It means if you die, like usually we die,
Hmm.
without consciously controlled dying and birth, if you do it exactly according to technology,
Hmm.
you can be incarnated less than in 1 year.
Oh wow.
Yes, you can make a choice of your family. You can make a choice of the body and time and
So
what
you,
is
if you understand this whole process, you become the director of your life, pretty much, or your
you become
afterlife.
an engineer of your life.
Yes, well said.
You can plan your life. Plan.
And who would not want to do that?
Actually, if you do really realize, oh, we can do it today.
Hmm.
No problem. No problem. What is needed, first of all, is the knowledge.
Hmm.
Fortunately, we have it. How it's possible to do. And the second one, we need so that nobody would interrupt the process. For
Which
example,
that's going to be
like
easy
it,
to do.
yeah, but in any way, this is reality. Like it was, for example, in ancient Egypt, because in ancient Egypt, when they built a pyramids for consciously controlled reincarnation, or they did it with the help of a special devices, all the time the following pharaoh was sending a thieves to destroy the burying place of the former pharaoh, destroy this energetical source for one reason, to not allow the former pharaoh incarnate again.
Ah, that makes sense because that current pharaoh doesn't want someone else
Yeah,
to take his spot.
yep, exactly. And today, you can read in all books written by Egyptologists, for example, like the Valley of the Kings, that all these uh, tombs, they have been robbed. Robbed.
Okay.
Why? By this particular reason.
Mm-hmm.
But some people can say, "Oh, Valery, but there is at least one who have not been robbed. This is the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun, right?"
Mm-hmm.
But if you start to investigate all this story with or about this Tutankhamun and this discovery, you will make a very, very unexpected decision. That
He's the one that created the Robins.
this case was faked.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely faked. The, and Carter was the one, a tricker, who falsified the whole story. And by the way, in Russia, it's absolutely well-known case. All people in Russia, they know about it, that Carter case is falsified.
Okay.
But
That
all
is very
other,
crucial information right there.
yeah, would be great if we could find someone who could translate these films that have been done and shown in Russia about Carter and the Tutankhamun case, believe me, you would be shocked because this is absolutely clear. And then, just to hide the trace of this falsification, Carter killed all the people who have been involved in this discovery, blaming that this was like a the pharaohs influence, and by viruses or by whatever sent by spirits of the pharaohs, these people who have been involved in this research they died.
Yep. Once you know that the murders are happening, you know the cover-up is beginning.
Yes. So in reality, all these people have been murdered.
Yep.
And
sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, I tell you. And Carter is a very special Egyptologist, covered with blood, fully. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's not the case what we are going to talk about now. So today we are talking about Jesus, and we are talking about very, very special aspects. So, and what I have tried to do is just to give you some hints. Just please do not blame me for anything, because unfortunately I'm not perfect in English language, and we have no enough time to bring all that interesting details into our conversation, so that you could feel, you could, see these hints, which starts to stimulate any mind, any real researcher to make steps forward.
In that regard, too, real quick, this could take another episode if you're interested.
Yep. And I'm sure that people very soon will find a lot of interesting improvements, really a lot.
Yeah, this connects also to like other esoteric religions that happen too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, continue what you were about ready to say, though.
Oh, listen, now I think this is the moment when maybe I would ask some questions from you, because today you are representing not only my friend and the one with whom I'm talking, you also represent people who is listening to us. Mm-hmm. And if you feel, if you encounter some moments and you would like weird moments, and you would like to ask some questions, just do it. Because I think we need to give our listeners some time to digest this information.
Yes, this is especially if they've never even realized that this is even a possibility.
Yeah.
On one hand, it could be hard to hear.
Yeah, on one hand, if people are not interested in this, they can forget about our conversation, no problem. But those one who is interested in knowledge, who is really interested in development of our civilization, actually, for myself, why I'm doing it? Because when I realized the real mission of Jesus Christ, and when I just realized what a turmoil, what a pain, what was that he had to come through, Jesus became for me something even more than he had been before. He is the one whom I'm not only love, I feel that I must explain to people the main idea of his mission, because I feel as if I'm betraying him if I'm not talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, because the true message gets lost in time then if it doesn't get discussed.
Not only lost, it was falsified. Mm-hmm. It was fully transformed. And now, because now it says, okay, Jesus Christ is the Son of God. But in all ancient books, at the beginning, Jesus Christ have never been the Son of the God. So in any way, but the present Bible says that Jesus Christ, the Son of the God, who gave his life for, how to say, to pay for sins of humanity, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what it means, if he already paid his life for sins, then it means we can sin, we can murder, we can do anything what we want to do because he already paid his life.
That I always thought of that myself. Like if he died for sin, like the Bible says, the current Bible, then there's no sin then.
Yeah, it means everything is okay.
But most Christians think that we still sin all the time, and we gotta.
But then I ask, what is the reason for his death?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
what is the meaning then?
If we're sinning and we have to go to confession and everything, that means there was really no point of Jesus dying.
No, it means I'm not going to say that everything is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
No, I just want to say, listen, there is something we should think about deeper. There is something that stands behind all these ideas. And if we will reread the Bible, reread the texts from this point of view, especially not like Bible of, how to say it's Gospel of
the Gospel of John, which is the whole crucifixion gospel.
Yeah, Gospel of Thomas. First of all,
okay, yeah.
I would recommend to read more Gospel of Thomas. It's closer to what Jesus was talking about, and there are some other ancient texts which are talking about the Jesus mission, and this is exactly why 180 years later, Irenaeus Leonsky, by the way, you see again, Irenaeus from Leon, mm-hmm. If I announce proper this name, because in Russian it's Irenei, it's in English Irenaeus maybe.
Okay.
He was the father of the church. He made an order to put on fire all 40 Gospels, all other books talking truth about Jesus. And he said, only 4 Gospels now we can consider to be right. Only 4 from 40.
Yeah, and then they also added the text, I forget which book of the Bible it's in, where it says,
yes,
any other text is not considered gospel.
Yes, and that's why I say, even among these 4 Gospels, first of all, pay attention to Gospel of Thomas.
Okay.
And then go back deeper in history to the other informational sources, and you will make wonderful discoveries. Real wonderful discoveries.
Very intriguing stuff. I got a quick question real quick for you, Valery. Mm-hmm. In regards to the crucifixion, within your personal research, do you think Jesus' body went on, or do you think Jesus' body
is there in Turkey?
Still there, okay.
Yeah, it's there. It's there, and this is the place where he was buried there. Because all the other story about his, reason.
His resurrection,
resurrection,
yep.
It's invention.
Yeah, which supposedly his body disappeared from the tomb, and then he was walking on earth again.
Yeah, so Jesus is there. And for me, it's interesting because Muslims are praying there. Muslims are taking care of this place, not Christians.
Yeah, which is that changes everything too in the current political climate, because a lot of people, a lot of Christians now are against the Muslim people.
Yeah, this is exactly political reasons.
Exactly. And if you think about that too. That is part of this whole change in human history.
Yep.
They're bringing about this attack on Muslims, I think, to coincide with that whole change, so people can't uncover the truth.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Now this is the moment which I say, okay, my friends, this is the moment. Just listen to yourself. Maybe you will feel an impulse from inside to make some steps forward in research and investigation of the topic. So let's go on. Welcome.
Yes, exactly. And people can come up with the more questions, I think, the better. I mean, people need to
Yeah,
keep questioning to keep the research alive. And
yeah,
people need to look within their hearts. It brings up a picture
yeah,
in
yeah.
my mind of the old paintings of Jesus where Jesus was pointing to his heart.
Yeah, because for me, again, I'd like to repeat this idea. For me, the whole reason why I'm doing this is the Jesus Christ, and because I feel I cannot betray him, and because he is waiting from us to bring back the truth about him, the truth, real truth, what he was teaching about. So this is what I'm feeling, and this is the reason why I'm talking about it on one hand, because on the other hand, I should be silent.
Right.
Because I understand that the church, Christian church, they can start to follow me just easily, it can happen easily. They can kill me easily. But
Have you come across any personal threats against you when you started researching this topic and speaking about it?
uh, I'm what I have experienced that, for example, YouTube
Okay.
start to blocking me and some of my videos, which I have been recently publishing, and not only me, some other people who was trying to publish some special information about it. Suddenly, this information have been blocked by YouTube without any explanation. For example, in Austria, in Holland, for example, in some other countries, not in America. America is okay,
Mm-hmm.
but it's interesting. But it happens like this.
That is interesting, and I've been posting my shows on YouTube after they air, which I will do the same with this episode. And I'll send you a message once I do so, because I would like to see if you in Russia have access to watching this video once it's on YouTube.
I think in Russia we have access
Okay.
because Russian area is not blocked. But because in Russia people are really really informed about anything we are talking about today. People are informed.
Yeah, that's true. You mentioned that
Yeah, but
some
but
information the Russians are have more knowledge about than over here in America. That's for sure.
this information is just opened.
Okay.
You can't imagine that for last 8 years, more than 7,000 films have been published on topic of UFOs, ancient Egypt, religion, these historical fakes about Jesus
Right.
Christ.
And,
A lot,
and this
a
whole
lot of
thing
films.
almost amplified in regards to becoming a little bit popular now when the Da Vinci Code book came out. Do you remember that book?
Yes, for sure. I have it on my computer.
Okay. So people started to question, I realized, back when that book came out in regards to the history. And I remember when that book came out, a lot of Christian pastors and preachers in America started to attack Dan Brown, the author, and
Yeah, yeah,
discredit
yeah,
that
yeah,
book.
yeah. This is strange. Why attack if you are not agree? Then prove it. Let's say on the scientific basis. Just give ideas. It's like a scientific approach. If you are not agree, just explain and show why.
Yeah, because so far I've yet to hear an explanation from American pastors or preachers
Yeah.
why they're so against all this, aside from the fact that they just say that anything outside of biblical text is not
Yeah.
current or not considered realistic in regards to Jesus. But they don't go beyond that.
Yeah. So then it will be okay. But just to say that he is not right, that's all. That's not okay.
All right. Well, Valery, that pretty much wraps up this episode. We're running out of time. But if you'd like, I would love to have you back on and even go further into this. I mean, because there's so much more yet to be uncovered with this.
If you will get some questions from the people, some reaction, so get them this question together and then send it to me, and then we can prepare the next meeting, next conversation, just following the questions.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. So if any of our listeners do have any questions, personal questions, or anything regarding the topic of uncovering the truth of Jesus, send them our way, and we'll build upon our next show.
Yeah.
Well,
Agreed.
Valery, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad you came on your show, or our show, to discuss this very controversial topic, but something that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, thank you, my friend. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you and to people. So actually, hope to meet you again and to share with people anything I have. I'm gonna do it openly.
Real quick though, Valery, are you compiling a book of your own with all this information?
Actually, I'm now writing the book with all these interesting details and transcription of ancient texts and of everything, which gives 100% improvement of what we are talking about now, and even more, and even more.
Well, that'll be exciting to check out.
I know the last thing which I'd like to share, that many years ago, on 1989, when I was very, very active in UFO research, I was visiting different locations, especially Georgia in Russia, where I was working together with Georgian Academy of Science and Georgian Medical Academy of Science, investigating the traces of UFOs, and especially talking with people who had close encounters with ETs. And what is interesting, that in few cases, people reported that they have seen ETs looking like a human being, and on their body they had very strange costumes. These costumes were around, very, very softly around their body, just forming their body. Okay. And on the chest, on the right side of the chest, they saw a symbol. And when I asked, could you make a drawing of the symbol? And when they did it, I was shocked.
Was it that emblem of Jesus?
Yes.
Wow.
That was exactly the emblem of Jesus. But the difference was, because when we are talking today and we imagine Jesus was crucified on the cross, where we have a vertical, vertical bar, right? And then horizontal bar forming the cross.
Right.
On their symbol, he was nailed to the vertical bar only.
Oh, wow.
That was no a cross. That was just vertical bar.
Where was the nail positioned at? Like through his chest or something?
Two hands over his head.
Oh, okay.
And two legs normally below. So, and for me, that was the key moment, critical moment, because later, many years later, almost 30 years later, when I started to investigate the mission of Jesus, I came to a strict conclusion. And that case I remembered, and it gave me like idea that Jesus Christ and knowledge which he brought to humanity was a turning point for all civilization in this universe.
Yes. Universe
So,
being a key too, because this is a very cosmic idea.
yeah, because this is consciously controlled reincarnation, which have been not only explained, but the life of Jesus have been given for that. And this man, like Jesus, he did one and the same thing in our dimension, in some other civilization, exactly the same. And this is the key moment. This is the turning moment. And this is the reason why I'm talking about it. I understand that even all extraterrestrial civilization, they came through the same historical stage.
Wow. Very powerful stuff, Valery. And on that note, I look forward to speaking with you again. I'm going to continue doing my own personal research on this subject because I think this subject is one of the most powerful pieces of information for humanity's sake.
Yeah, my friend.
Well, Valery, take care. I look forward to speaking with you again and enjoy the rest of your evening over there in Russia.
Thank you, my friends. Thank you. And thank you to all of people who were listening to us.
Yes, we definitely appreciate your research yourself, Valery. I know my listeners enjoy hearing you, and I'm excited about sharing this knowledge with the rest of the world.
Thank you, my friend, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That was Valery Uvarov from St. Petersburg, Russia, and just got done discussing some very powerful information regarding the truth behind Jesus' mission, the falsification of what really happened in the history of humanity, as well as real-time conscious reincarnation. Thanks for joining us on Ancient Mysteries Revisited. I am your host, Rodney McGillvary, coming to you every Monday and Wednesday at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Welt 95.7 FM in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Also on Facebook at facebook.com/Ancient Mysteries Revisited, and streaming online at www.acpl.info/Welt. And you can find me on our website at www.ancientmysteriesrevisited.wordpress.com. And thanks for listening. We are the Deprogramming Program.